Welcome to the Vault Studios NFL podcast, an Australian twist on all things NFL. The boys are cracking into a nice cold beer from Burnley Brewing. Let's join them.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. I am your host, James Arthur, and I am joined by my good pal, Richie Garraway. How are you, buddy?
Good, mate. How you been?
Terrific. We started last week by saying we're probably going to have a break for a couple of weeks, but after the news the last couple of days, we're like, we have to get on. The NFL, if you don't think it's a 365 sort of day a year sort of sport, there's something wrong with you. This sport just keeps on giving all the time. So we had to get on, have a bit of a chat about some big things that have happened the last day, and I'm sure they'll continue. I'm sure as soon as we finish, something else big will happen. One of the biggest trades, in my opinion, in the history of the NFL, if you ask me, which we'll get to soon. One of the big contracts in the history of the NFL. We've got gambling saga, wide receivers, franchise tags. So there's plenty to go on about. Before we get started, let's just quickly mention our fantastic sponsors, Burnley Brewing. Head to 648 Bridge Road, Richmond, and get your laughing gear around some food and some beer from Burnley Brewing. Also, US Sports Gear. You want any gear in Australia? Head to ussportsgear.com.au. Dark Horse Electrics. You want the best electrician in Melbourne. Dylan from Dark Horse is your man. Make sure you look after him. And then last but certainly not least, and I'll bring up the board, Richie. We've got our Patreon spin for the month, and that's brought to you by J&D's Breaks Down Under. Guys, I don't have the helmet yet. We're having a bit of trouble. Darren's up in the flood zone, so he's having a bit of trouble getting it shipped out. It's a bit difficult at the moment. So, hoping everyone's good up there with you, Darren. But yeah, it's just been a bit slow to get it, but it is a DeAndre Swift Detroit Lions mini helmet this month, similar to the one I've got up on the shelf there. So it's a really cool helmet, really good football player. So that's a helmet this month, and let's spin it and see who gets the win. Obviously, the second prize available is the box of Burnley Brewings. Guys, the last couple of months that have won it, I will get the stuff out to you. Hayden, I know you were down at football on the weekend. If I'd known, I would have brought it down for you. Same with you, Scott Ditcham. When you're down recording the next game, let me know so we can get in there and get your helmets for your winnings. But let's click and let's see who wins it this month. Let's see who gets first choice. Oh, that's a nice, easy delivery. Lockie Kemp. Outstanding rookie right guard for the Croydon Rangers. Congratulations, Lockie. He's been a supporter. Actually, last night, Richie, we were having some pizza at the club rooms, and someone said something about the salary cap, and his response was, "The salary cap's a myth." I had a good chuckle about that. It was really funny. So
it scares me you're influencing the youth of this game.
Richie, that's power. I have power in my hands now, and I'm going to use it for evil. I'm not going to be one of those people like, I'm going to be good with it. I'm going to be evil. I'm going to make people understand the salary cap's a myth. Let's get our second choice. Lockie does love a beer, so I don't know. He might pick the Burnley Brewings, but yeah, I think maybe not. Or Ryan McGrath. I reckon this is his second box of beer in the last few months. So, or helmet. Let's see what Lockie wants first, but let's go from there. I will just write them down. That is our winners for this month, guys. As always, thanks to J&D's Breaks Down Under and all our sponsors. Your support goes an absolute massive way to helping the show go ahead. And we absolutely love your work, guys. So I appreciate all of you for the sponsorship. But Richie, let's absolutely launch into it, and let's start with Aaron Rodgers. And the reason I don't want to start with one of the biggest trades in the history of the NFL is I want to start with Aaron Rodgers because I think Aaron Rodgers' contract extension, which was 4 years, $200 million, $50 million a year for the people playing at home, a quarter of your yearly salary cap for the people playing at home as well. I think this actually started the trickle of what happened with the trade. So first of all, we kind of knew Aaron Rodgers wasn't going anywhere after the season he had. You could see the Packers were kind of like, yeah, we've got to commit to this guy and keep him around. Sucks for Jordan Love, I guess, but Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Green Bay Packer, you'd think, till his career's over now. I don't think he's got many more than 4 years left in him.
He probably doesn't. Can I be honest? This really kind of annoyed me. All the hoopla and the song and dance and dropping the news on it was draft day last year. Aaron Rodgers has kind of just been a dick in the last handful of years, and the whole what do you call it? What do you say? He was immunized, not vaccinated, or some shit as well. He's just for a guy who's an exceptional quarterback, he's just kind of really pissed me off last handful of years. And I wish he'd gone and just got a fresh start somewhere else.
I agree.
The whole saga has been unbearable for him just to stay where he was.
And it was money.
Packers
Clearly,
fans,
it was money all along. He just wanted more money. It's simple now. He's got his 50 million. He wants to be the highest paid player. It was an ego check sort of thing for him, and now he's got his money. He doesn't care. He's happy now.
it certainly seems that way, but it also it's terribly run. If there was an owner, he would have fired this GM by now. Wasting draft picks, whether that was the catalyst that started pissing him off to want more money or whatever. Who really cares? But that's now still a totally wasted pick. What are you going to do with him now? Keep him as a backup until you have to re-sign him? Nobody wants him.
You get a 7th round pick or something for him. That's it. The Panthers will trade for him for nothing. That's what you'll get.
I don't know if I'd even bother. So, like the whole thing's.
Well, he's got 2 years left, right? Rodgers' contract's fairly front-loaded. 2 years left. Maybe they sit him until the end of his rookie deal and go. That's what they did with Rodgers. It took Rodgers 4 years to start. Maybe they do that and say if Rodgers drops off, they'll just keep him. Like it doesn't cost him anything. That's the thing with draft picks. They don't cost you anything.
No, so he's a first round pick who would be costing them $400,000 or $500,000 this year. He will be due a 5th-year option next year, I think, which they certainly won't pick up. It'll be too expensive for a backup. You just throw a rock and hit a backup quarterback. So that'll certainly be the end of his time in Green Bay. Somebody else might try re-signing him, but the 5th-year option would be way too expensive. They might even let it lapse and try and re-sign him as a backup. But quite frankly, I'm just glad this saga's over.
Yeah, me too. Sick of hearing about it.
I'm kind of sick of hearing about it too. And quite frankly, I hope Rodgers just lays low and plays football. I hate using the word choker, but he's been a supreme disappointment in the playoffs. Good on him since he's
not just him. The whole team struggles in the playoffs. It's no secret.
Agreed. But since he has got there, I think, or as a starter, I should say, they've won 75% of their games, some crazy number like that. They've been uber successful, yet won Super Bowl to show for it. God knows how many trips to the playoffs. Most of the time, not making it all the way. So I know it's a crazy thing to say, but with where they set their own bar, the return on investment, I guess for short of a better word, has been disappointing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you've got to keep him. And people are saying, you can't believe you're paying him that much money. The cap's gone up again to $205 million. When Russell Wilson was re-signed, Mahomes was re-signed, when all these quarterbacks are re-signed, most of them get about 25% of the salary cap. Richie's going to go shush his dog up. They do get most of the salary cap. So as I said, I know Richie's not here to talk to. I'm going to talk to you guys. I think that it was probably a good reason to keep him around. I think they'll keep Jordan Love around for a couple of years, and then they will see what they've got and move on from that. Let's move on to what we'll do is we'll have a quick break, and then we will move on to the next bit of the news. All right, so we have Richie back now. Excuse the quick break. Let's move on to... do you think it's unfair to say one of the biggest trades in the history of the NFL? It's a pretty massive deal. It doesn't happen very often, these sorts of trades.
There are not many franchise quarterbacks who get traded. It's as simple as that. A handful get cut right at the end of their careers. Look at a Joe Montana, for example, but they had Steve Young behind him, so it was a little bit different. Technically, Tom Brady was traded, but I don't think that one really counts. Someone like Russell Wilson, who's going into his 11th year, maybe? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Nailed it. So going into his 11th or 12th year with the Super Bowl, I'm not going to say in his prime. I actually think he's past it a touch, but he is a massive, massive upgrade for Denver, who I've been, singing the tune of when the hell are these guys going to fix it for a very long time. And I do not want to be a team in the AFC West this year. Forget that.
Well, that's the thing. So, all right, I'll go through what they've given up first, and let's just both say if we think it's worth it. They obviously Seahawks gave up Russell Wilson and a 4th round pick to the Denver Broncos for 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a 5th-round pick. Also, defensive tackle Shelby Harris is a very handy defensive tackle. First-round pick, former first-round pick tight end who is very talented in Noah Fant, and Drew Lock. So the good news for Noah Fant is that we can feel sorry for him having Drew Lock passing him the ball at 2 franchises now. I think it's actually very if Wilson goes and is the guy in Denver and he's a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback that we've seen in the past, it's a great move for Denver because we think they've got all the pieces. Noah Fant's a loss, but in terms of losing offensive players, I'm sure it was give us Jerry Jeudy or give us Noah Fant, or maybe it was Jerry Jeudy and they said, hey, we'll give you Shelby Harris and Noah Fant, because I think keeping Jerry Jeudy was super important. If you're bringing in a star quarterback, you've now got Sutton. You've got Sutton, Judy. There's one other guy that I'm trying to think of as well. Oh, Tim Patrick, KJ Hamler. They've got a good group of receivers, plus 2 really good running backs, including a great rookie running back in Williams.
Williams.
I think they've got some pieces on offense. The offensive line's better, and they've got some cap they can go and spend on offensive line. They've also got Melvin Gordon there too as well. So they've got some talent. So I think it was a great, in terms of fairness, both teams got exactly what you needed. Seattle needed that sort of cachet to make that deal, and they get Russell Wilson. So it's hard to argue that who lost it. I don't know. I don't think anyone lost.
What years are those draft picks? Because I haven't seen what they
this year and next year. So there's 1st and 2nd this year, 1st and 2nd next year.
Okay, so basically, Denver's put all their eggs in the next 2-year basket. So they get no first or second round.
No, they get pick 9 this year.
Okay, look, it's a good upgrade for the Seahawks. I think Russell Wilson's had, he's been making noise for the last handful of years. He's not particularly happy. I think he and Pete Carroll, their marriage has come to an end, and they've just been staying together for the kids, and the kids are now growing up and out of the house. So, yeah, it's all over. I don't like trying to who wins, who loses picks. I think at the end, or trades, I should say, at the end of that, it comes down to value. And what is a franchise quarterback who you know what they are really worth? And as I said, these trades don't happen very often because we know what they're worth. They're so valuable. Now, I don't think Russell Wilson's a top 5 quarterback anymore. He's certainly a top 10. Yep. And that might be enough with the pieces that are around him. Like that Denver team could be really, really good. Russell Wilson has struggled to finish seasons in the last handful of years. Like he did have that monster year in 2020, or I think he threw 40 touchdowns, which was the most of his career. So he's not obviously too far removed from that, but he really fell away last year. He did fall away in that 40 touchdown season. Yeah. It's going to be really interesting. It's going to be really interesting. Now, first thing, kudos to Denver. I've lost count how many times I've complained about this.
Hammered them for it.
Yep. Fixed it.
Yep.
And quarterbacks are like limited series Ferraris. There's only 10 top 10 guys. And that's it. Like there are no more. Yep. Quarterbacks are the hardest position to get and to get right. And they've gone and got one. What it costs is what it costs. They've gone down the Rams route of, you know what? Forget first round picks. I don't know if that first round pick is going to work out, but I know what Russell Wilson is, and that's what I'm getting.
100%. I couldn't agree more. We've hammered them for this. As for Seattle, this is the start of a rebuild. I don't think Drew Lock's their future quarterback. I think we'll throw in Drew Lock for you to be a placekeeper for a year if you don't want to take a quarterback, because it's not a good quarterback draft. This year is not a good quarterback draft. What Seattle are hoping is they get a good player with pick 9. They hit on that pick, and then next year Denver suck, and they get a top 5 pick from Denver, or they get 2 picks next year, and they can ram them up and make a deal and get into that top 5 to get a quarterback. That's what they'll be trying to do. That's the plan. They'll try and they'll reset the rookie deal.
There's every chance their natural pick will be somewhere in the top 10 because they're not going to be anywhere near as good. They're falling off last year.
2 seconds and you move.
Package them and move up, or take your high first and give them your high second and try and package that to get up. that's a little harder to pull off. But they're gonna. What it does is it gives them what the Browns had a few years ago, where you've got a lot of picks. It's capital. You can use that to make moves and try and find the right guy. But it gives you so much flexibility in what you want to do moving forward. So they're in complete rebuild. I don't know how much longer Pete Carroll. I don't think he's going to want to stick around for the entire rebuild. So he might only have a year left in him. He will be somebody we talk about being on the hot seat, like in the preview show. So it's going to be interesting to see how long he wants to stick with this rebuild, because everyone forgets, like, he's an old dude. He just looks a bit young. Like, he's got to be in his mid. Yeah, I was going to say, like, he's got to be in his mid to late 60s.
The oldest coach in the NFL.
Well, there you go. So I don't think he's going to be around for too much longer. I know he's young. He's got a lot. Sorry, he's acts young. Oh, there you go. I mean, I said most people would never have guessed that, but I don't think his future is in Seattle, and I think they could be down for a few years.
Well, then they also go and cut Bobby Wagner, long-time superstar middle linebacker, who has come off a really good season. He didn't have a bad year. This is a sign that they're basically cutting costs. They're getting that dead money out of the way now, so they've got clear cap for the next year. I think they're going to go full tank next year. I think Pete Carroll will coach the year out. I think he'll then retire. They'll bring in a new coach, new quarterback, and roll from there. I think they will try and tank next year, and that's the smart thing to do. There'll be more cuts coming for this team. Don't be surprised if someone like DK Metcalf gets dealt or something like that, because you don't want to keep these guys around, because all DK Metcalf's going to do now is whinge and carry on about why he's not getting the ball enough. Although Drew Lock is a decent stopgap for guys like Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, because he does have an arm and he'll throw it downfield. So he'll get his 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns. Both of them will, because he'll throw the ball. Now, they won't win a lot, but they'll be productive still, because they'll get 3 catches for 110 yards some games. That's what their mindset will be.
Their offense will be a run the ball, control the clock, throw vertical. Yeah, that'll be the entire thing. So they'll have a handful of, it'll be go long and run the football.
Agree.
That'll be the
and that's Pete Carroll. We'll ride off into the sunset at the end of the season after a great NFL career, and they'll start with a young offensive guy with hopefully a top 5 pick to get your quarterback. Plus, maybe not, you can trade yourself in. Or worst case scenario, Drew Lock ends up being good and you're fine, which won't happen. I'm putting that right now, but that's what they're hoping for. So it'll be right. The Bobby Wagner cut, he'll be valuable to another team. He'll get big money in free agency. He's still, looked up his age just then, and I forgot it. I think he's only like 30 or something like that. 31 years old. So as a middle linebacker with his athletic ability, he's going to get picked up. Wouldn't surprise me if he takes himself over to Denver and rejoins with Russell Wilson and helps that team. So he'll go and sign with a contender, and 49ers would be a great spot for him, somewhere like that with Warner. Like there'll be a team that wants him as a contender. God, I hope the Cowboys go and get him. I'd love it. So that's it for that. Anything further on the Seahawks trade? I'd say great move by Denver and Seattle. He didn't want to be there. Denver needed a quarterback. Get a deal done. But I'm still saying I think Rodgers was on the cards until that trade was done. Until that deal was done. It's no secret to me that minutes after Rodgers signs that extension, the trade gets announced. I think there was 2 trades on the table. We'll probably not know about it for a long time, but I reckon there was another trade on the table, and Rodgers didn't get over the line.
Yeah, well, there's only it's why they had to give up so much, because if you look at the entire quarterback market this year, the free agents are terrible. It's Deshaun Watson, who could be in jail. It's Jameis Winston. It's Marcus Mariota.
Watson, you've still got to get. You've got to go and get Watson still. The Texans haven't given up the rights to him.
Yeah, sorry, exactly. So I should have said that would have to be a trade. That was poor by me. Then you've got the draft. So what are you going to take? Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis?
Come on, Willis.
Not many options. Are you going to try and trade for Jimmy Garoppolo? There's not a much around. I think Teddy Bridgewater might be a free agent.
Teddy man.
Well, yeah, Teddy Gloves. But what I'm saying is, did anyone get excited off those names I just rattled off? No. It's a really bad year for quarterbacks. There's not many that are available to go get in free agency and drafting. So you've got to try and trade. And even the trade market, there's not a lot there.
What are you going to give up for Watson? Not like this is what you've just given up for Wilson. Watson's a better player than Wilson. I'd prefer Watson.
There's so much baggage.
Yeah, there's a potential he won't play ever again. And the NFL just quietly are absolutely sleeping on it, which shits me. because we'll talk about a guy they've suspended later, but they're happy to deal out cards on certain things, but they'll hold off on other stuff.
Well, it's the classic thing. There's an open investigation, nothing's been found out, and the club's doing your dirty work for you, so you don't have to make a decision on it. Whereas a guy gets caught betting on his own team, that's fucking easy to suspend somebody for.
Actually, let's roll onto it now. Now that we've segued it, Calvin Ridley, outstanding wide receiver for the Atlanta Falcons, who just had a year off for some mental health stuff. The whole year, I think he played the first 2 games maybe. During that time off for his mental health, he bet on games, and he bet on his Atlanta Falcons, and he got caught. And he's now been suspended. At this point, it's indefinitely, but it will definitely be for the 2022 season. So he will not play for the Falcons for the 2nd year in a row. Look, this is pretty cut and dry for me, although I agree the NFL do a shitty job with a lot of things when it comes to suspension. It is a strict rule. You cannot gamble. You certainly cannot gamble on your own team. If you don't understand why, I don't think this show's for you. Maybe go and find I think there's a good play school or ABC Kids podcast you can listen to, because it's pretty basic. You can't bet on a sport that you have some sort of control over or inside knowledge over. Calvin really could know who's missing, who's not, that sort of stuff, how the practice has been that week, all that sort of stuff. It opens up a world of doors. So his suspension is 100% fair. As much as I hate it for him as a player, and he made a dumb mistake, he has to cop it. He made a stupid mistake that's very, very clear and concise, and there's no way around it. And he's got to pay the punishment now. And so did the Atlanta Falcons, unfortunately.
I think the most stupid thing about it is it was like an 8-team parlay.
It was
$1,500. First off, that's just fucking hard to win. They're really hard to hit. And 2, it's just, how can you not know the rule? Even if
he knows the rule, he just tried to beat it and got caught.
Well, here's the thing. So everybody who offers, it's exactly the same as it is in Australia. Every person who's an authorized partner with the NFL, which is all of them, otherwise you can't use their team names or their player names or all those sorts of things. So you have to partner with the NFL. You got to pay the fee, whether you call it a licensing fee or to be an official betting partner or whatever the hell you want to call it. To be that, they then have so to bet, unless you're going to go and do it in person in a casino or something like that, if you're using an online app or any of those sorts of things, it has your name. And the NFL, well, I'm sure the betting partners do it for the NFL, but they check it against active players.
Yep.
It's not hard. So
it's something to get caught for in the world.
If you're going to do it, you got to do it via proxy. Get your mate to put it on for you or something like that. He clearly wasn't trying to fix games or anything like that. This is a stupidity suspension where this is just so epically, colossically stupid. What are you doing, man? And it's a bad look for him.
$15 million a year and he's betting $1,500. It's nothing for him. It's like putting a $20 bet on for us. It's nothing.
And that's the thing. I guess I really do wonder about his mental health issues if he's making decisions like this. In all seriousness, I'm not trying to poke fun at him or anything like that. I'm just saying, what is going on here? Isn't there anyone in his life going, hey, you allowed to do that? Sure, he wasn't there on his own. I'm sure his friends or something were around him. Surround yourself with better people, and you might and really put some effort into this, to the issues you have. Because if you're making decisions like these, I do question your mental health. What are you doing?
Some guys do not benefit from being away from their teams. Simply put, they just don't benefit from it. And I think this is a situation. I think if he's around his team more, which he hasn't been, and it's now the off season, so he wouldn't be as much anyway, this stuff might not happen. If he's playing, it certainly doesn't happen.
I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty confident Calvin Ridley probably didn't grow up in Atlanta. I don't reckon he's been in Atlanta since he left at week 3 or whatever it was.
He wouldn't have been.
So
he's been back home, and he's originally from Florida.
Well, and that's where he got caught. So he wouldn't have anything to do with the team pushing 10 months. So yeah, at first I probably had a good laugh about it, going, what a moron. There were also a couple of funny memes and all the rest of it. But once I've had a bit of a chance to let it sink in, I'm really more what's going on in this guy's mind? I hope whatever avenues that the NFL or the Atlanta Falcons can leverage without like getting in trouble because he is suspended, like he needs all of them. Like all of them.
Yeah, 100%. And this is the other thing is he's wasting his prime years. He's wasting his prime years for Atlanta. He's wasting his prime years for him. He's on his 5th year option, which is now going to be deferred because he's suspended, doesn't count. So he'll play on that next year. They will not give him a big contract. No one will give him a big contract. He'll have to play under that tag or not play. So he's now opening. He was about to take over. Julio Jones had left. He was the man. When he comes back another year now, Kyle Pitt might be the man. Like he was pretty good last year, Kyle Pitts. And if he gets better, which he will, he might not have that role. He might not come back to the same role. It can derail his career and his waste. He's 27 years old. He'll be 28 when he comes back, almost 29. You're losing your good years, Calvin. It's stupidity. You're right. It's a stupidity suspension. I hope they somehow work out a way to not suspend him for the whole year. I hope there's some sort of maybe 8 years, maybe 8 games, but he's on like a 3-year thing where they watch him or something like that for something again. If it was just stupidity, because I don't think this guy being away from the NFL is good. One, we hate good players being away from the sport. We've always said that, Richie, whether it's suspension, injury, anything like that. I want the good players to be out there. But I hope that they can maybe get through to him by giving him less of a suspension and maybe some coaching around it and some lessons around it so he's not doing dumb stuff like this anymore. Because I want him to play football. Simple as that. So hopefully the NFL help him out. Hopefully he can come. He seems very remorseful. He said, look, I stuffed up. It was stupid. It was a dumb $1,500 bet. It's his pocket money, for God's sake. It's not even a lot of money. So either way, good luck to him. Speaking of a lot of money, though, and wide receivers, let's talk Mike Williams and his 3-year, $60 million extension for the Chargers. When this first hit, Richie, I kind of was like, what? We're paying Mike Williams 3 years, $60 million? And then I thought about it, and I'm like, well, Herbert's got 2 years left on his rookie deal, then a 5th-year option. So I can kind of see what they're doing here. They're saying that we've got Herbert for pretty cheap for the next 2 years minimum. Let's load up and give him as much talent as we can and try and win this bastard, which they've got a chance with a guy like Herbert. So I'm not against it. They've got the cap. It's $40 million in guarantees, which means it's only the first 2 years are guaranteed. So basically when Herbert's rookie contract ends, they can cut him for nothing. So I don't hate the move. Yes, they're overpaying. 100% they're overpaying for a receiver who I don't believe has ever had 1,000 yards, but I'll check. But I think they're definitely overpaying for him, and it is what it is. But that's what you got to do sometimes if you want to keep a good team together. I lie. Yeah, 1,140, almost 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns this season, which was the best year of his career.
I was going to say I thought he might have had that. Look, this is one of those classic ones when you've got the space now, like playing that money ball type of thing where you're like, look, this guy's in the offense. He already knows it. He's got a connection with Herbert. As you said, Herbert's on a rookie deal, so you don't have the quarterback eating up 40% of your salary cap or anything like that. And they're like, you know what? We can afford it. We want to keep him. Let's do it. Let's make sure we don't lose him. And, Keenan Allen isn't getting any younger, who's opposite him. We talked about last week that the Chargers got a lot of salary cap room, and they're using it. I think you're going to see them be big players in free agency this year because they've got it. And as you said, they've got 2 more years of Herbert plus the 5th-year option. So it's now or never. You've got the guy. So many other teams don't know if they've got the guy. Chargers do. Go all in. Go all in.
Don't get me wrong. Complete overpay for the player, I think. But in saying that, he almost had 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns. That's a very good year. Amari Cooper's getting $22 million and he's only had 800 yards. So, but, now the reports are Amari Cooper's going to get cut, but this deal might be like, Amari Cooper might be like, you beauty, cut me. I'm way better than Mike Williams. I'm getting 3 years, $60 million too. So, I don't know. It's a weird market for wide receivers. They tend to keep them on your team. You've got to pay them because a high-end 2 gets paid like a 1 in free agency. So you've got to entice them to stay. And that comes with money. It's as simple as that because other teams will go, well, he can be our 1. Now, can he? I don't know. Many have failed, but many have also succeeded going and becoming a 1 somewhere else. So it can happen, and teams will take that bet. So yeah, I like the move. Overpay, but I like the move. I'm not against the Chargers. Anything they can do to keep talent in the building, I'm all for. And they should load up in free agency and try and win this bitch because they've got a real chance with Herbert for the next 2-3 years.
And it's a bloody difficult division. So, like,
Tough.
you're playing in the... Yeah, it's not like...
Carr, Wilson, Mahomes, and Herbert are the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Carr's the worst.
Carr's the
and he's
worst.
best in most other divisions.
Yeah, hilarious.
I haven't done it. Like, for the next podcast, I'm going to go through and find out where I think Carr would rank in every other division, because I think he'd be top 2 in most of them.
He'd be 2 or higher in most, yeah.
In the NFC East, I'm thinking straight away, I'd almost have him over Dak Prescott right now. Like, he's on par with him. He's 1A if he's not in front of him, and he's definitely better than Daniel Jones and whoever Washington and who are Washington running around now. I can't even remember who it was. They've got they had Fitz Magic, but he was hurt last year.
It was Heineke.
Heineke, yeah. So definitely. But anyway, let's move on. Last segment for the night. Let's get on to the franchise tags. So I'll just explain the franchise tags. You can tag one player every year on your team. And what they do is they take the top 5 paid players at that position or salaries at that position, and they make a franchise tag figure. So, for example, quarterback is $29.7 million, running backs 9.5, wide receivers 18.4, defensive end 17.8. They take the 5 positions, and that's how they do it. And then that player gets paid that contract fully guaranteed for 1 season, and he cannot go to free agency. Now, what happens is when you tag these guys, they have until mid-July to work out a contract. They don't have to play under it. If they choose not to play on it, though, they can't go anywhere else. They have to either play on it or come to terms on a long-term deal, which then voids the franchise tag, and they play under that new deal. All right? That's how it works. I'm going to go through
exclusive and non-exclusive tags.
I'm not going to... You know what? You actually do want to know the difference between these tags, and it's not often I plug Richie, but I have a YouTube video on the Vault Studio YouTube in Football 101. I think it's the only video in there that explains the difference between franchise tag, transition tags, exclusive free agents, non-exclusive free agents, unrestricted. Go and watch that, and it actually tells you all you need to know. If you do want to know, it's in our YouTube, the Vault Studio. If you're watching the video now, you're on YouTube, but if you're listening, go to the Vault Studio Podcast Network on YouTube, Football 101 section. There is an explanation on all that sort of stuff, which is actually quite in-depth. I had some good compliments on it once upon a time. So go to that. Let's get to the tags. There was 9 tags. The Cincinnati Bengals tagged Jesse Bates, safety. The Cleveland Browns tagged David Njoku, the tight end. Dallas Cowboys tagged Dalton Schultz, the tight end. The Green Bay Packers tagged Devontae Adams for the 2nd year in a row, for his first year. There's another one for a 2nd year coming up. Jacksonville Jaguars tagged Cam Robinson for the 2nd straight season. Kansas City Chiefs tagged Orlando Brown, the tackle, for the 1st season. Miami Dolphins tagged tight end Mike Gesicki. New England Patriots did not use their franchise tag on cornerback JC Jackson. I love that they've put it in where they have used it. But anyway, Tampa Bay Buccaneers used their franchise tag on Chris Godwin for the 2nd straight year as well, which ups his money a little bit. There's a percentage buffer. So, for example, he gets $19.1 million, whereas the other wide receiver, Devontae Adams, only got 17. So he doesn't quite get the same. Start me with one. Is there any you don't like there? Because there's one that I don't like, and I think you're the same.
Probably Njoku is the one that jumped out at me. The franchise tag for a tight end is $11 million this year. Sorry, that's not true. I think it's 10.9, but 10.9, it's close. It's close enough. So let's call it $11 million. They've got a number of tight ends on that team, and Njoku is used the least because he's not a particularly good blocker. So when he's in the game, you tend to know it's probably going to be a pass play. Like they've got Hooper on that roster, and there's another one that's name is escaping me. So I'm not a huge fan of this. I don't know if he could have got that much.
It's a keep him for one more deal to give Baker everything he needs. That's what it is. And maybe he plays more wide receiver without OBJ. Like maybe there's more of a role for him now because there's less outside.
I actually really think they're going to get a deal done. So basically, when you do that extension deal, this money has to be in it somewhere, but you can spread it out.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking maybe they come to terms with a 3-year deal, 2 of it guaranteed to be, I don't know, 15 million total.
Yeah.
Like something like that. But then again, he might not want that. He goes, you know what, I'm going to bet on myself. I'll play under it and find it afterwards. I'll give you one I do like if we're talking about tight ends. Love Gesicki. He's so
Gesicki and
underrated.
Dalton Schultz are both
Yeah.
in the same category. Both had very, very good seasons. And I think they're obviously not sure about the situation. Like, for example, Dallas, they're going to release Amari Cooper. CeeDee Lamb's young. They're probably going to go for a receiver in the draft, I'd say. Gallup, they're going to keep around, but he's coming off injury, that sort of thing. So you keep Dalton Schultz for that year. And if the offense goes really well with all those guys, then you go, okay, Schultz, we'll give you a longer-term deal. And then Gesicki in Miami, same, but different. You'll have him. You don't know who your quarterback is. You don't know what you've got in Tua. If Tua sucks this year and you basically got to reset and start again and start with a new quarterback, you probably let him walk because he's not going to be that valuable for you. So you get him for that 1 year. I think that's the mindset, but both very good tags. I agree.
I actually think Gesicki's really underrated. Like,
So do I.
I'm sure a lot of people don't watch a heap of Dolphin games unless you're a Dolphins fan or you just want to watch Tua and not be particularly good. But yeah, he finished with 73 catches, nearly 800 yards, I think. They didn't have many touchdowns, but neither did Miami. Yeah, so he's gone for over 2,000 yards in the last 3 seasons, pretty much since he got there. I think he's super underrated, and they use tight ends a lot in that offense. Well, sorry, they did last year, but it's probably going to change. But yeah, he's a good tight end. Like, I think this is a really good signing for them. Like, he seems to be open all the time.
Yeah, and Schultz's numbers very similar. He had 63 catches for 615 yards last year, which was great, and then 78 for 808 and 8 touchdowns this year. He's a red zone sort of guy.
Well, the good thing for Schultz is there's so many other skill guys around him.
Yeah,
you can't spend time doubling him up, and he gets good matchups. He gets linebacker coverage a lot.
Agreed. Because they play him in that blocking set, and they're good at running the ball. So he gets a lot of play action, dump offs, that sort of stuff. He's very well, good on third downs. Devontae Adams. First of all, I want to start on Godwin. Love the move by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't know if Godwin loves it without a quarterback at the moment, but they're keeping him around for another year. He is injured, so the tag's a great move. I don't think they'll get a long-term deal done because I want to see him for another year. But basically what they're saying is we want you to be around, but we're not sure about your injury. So we're going to pay you for a year and see what happens.
Yeah, there's zero chance he gets an extension done. He'll play on the tag with the second year penalty. Which I could have sworn that used to be higher. Maybe it came down the last collective bargaining agreement, but or maybe it's just because it was a quarterback last time. It looks so much more because it's percentage based. Either way, it's a lot for Godwin. Don't get me wrong, but if you've got him and Evans, it's just such a good 1-2 punch. Obviously, Brown's not coming back, so you probably needed to bring him back. Whoever plays quarterback is going to need all the help they can get. Godwin will be ready for week 1, I would imagine, the way they handle ACLs now. So it's for me, it's a no-brainer. My only concern is obviously by using it on Godwin, it means you can't use it on someone like a Carlton Davis, who's going to be one of the most sought-after D-backs in free agency, and I don't know if we're going to be able to bring him back. So I think he's going to get offered a lot of money in other places, and Tampa doesn't really have it to hand out.
No. And then similar with, I agree with all that with Godwin, and similar with Devontae Adams, you got to keep that guy in your building. I think there'll be a contract for Devontae Adams coming in the next couple of days. They've got enough cap. I think they'll make it work and get him a long-term deal. Probably one that lines up similar with Aaron Rodgers, 4 years. Maybe it's a 5-year deal, but the first 3 years are only guaranteed. They will keep those two together for sure. That's I would be shocked if by the time you're listening to this, he hasn't got a deal.
If you're spending that kind of money on Rodgers, why you wouldn't spend the money on getting him a target? Because, hey, GM, it's not your money. It's not your money. It's not the owner's money. There's no one breathing down your neck. Just spend it all.
Like $70 million on 2 players they're spending right now. Like, don't get me wrong. They're the league MVP and the best receiver in the NFL last year, but it's $70 million on 2 players. It's what is that? What's that in cap? That's a third of your cap you're spending on 2 players.
Well, as we got sidetracked last week and we started looking at the high-paid guys and everything, this is a stars and scrubs league.
It is.
There is no one in the middle. There is no middle. The NFL is representing life more than ever before. The rich get richer. There's no middle class anymore, and it's the bottom of the barrel guys earning 2-3 million each, and rookies earning hundreds of thousands. So I can't. The way the current salary cap is built, and rookie wage scales and all the rest of it. It's not changing anytime soon. Guys either go into they either get through their rookie deal and they're really good and they get a monster deal.
Yeah.
Or you get to the end of your rookie deal and you're not, and you float off and you sign somewhere else for a couple of $1 million. Or you're a rookie. That's all there is now. That's all there is in the NFL. And it's almost how you have to play fantasy as well. Like it's stars and scrubs. You can't play in the middle. You just can't. You can't compete.
No, I agree, and that's why the franchise tag's so important. I think the rookie pay scale is going to change. I think whenever they get the opportunity to do it, it'll change because it's too low.
They just redid it last year. It'll be like it's ages away. The collective bargaining agreement is years away.
I thought they changed. It was not in line with it.
I'm sure they redid it in 2022 or in 2021. Let me see if I can find when it expires. Has baseball in a strike. God, they just want to ruin their fucking own sport, don't they?
Yeah. Doesn't really bother me. You're right. Last year,
2020, it runs through till. How does this not have an end date?
I reckon it's 2025, but they're 5 years of the collective bargaining agreements. Because the last one was in 2015 because that was the lockout.
Yeah, it's usually something like that.
Yeah. So I can't believe how low they're paid. Rookies get scammed in this league. But I also don't want it to go back to where first-round picks come in and negotiate their own contracts. I think that's even worse. Because that's how you get guys like Jamarcus Russell getting paid $50 million for 3 years and they're crap. And it's not fair. So there's got to be some sort of, happy medium. But yeah, we'll see what happens with it. Well, that's it for the franchise tags, Richie. And that's it for the show, mate. So on a week where we didn't think we were going to, we're going to have a couple of weeks off. And then once this drops today, we're both like, we got to record this, which was pretty insane. So thank you for jumping on late notice, mate. I know I only messaged you today. You got little Hadley's on YouTube. Is she a Browns fan? We'll leave it there, everyone. I want to thank all our sponsors. J&D's Breaks Down Under, USSportsKit.com.au, Burnley Brewing, Dark Horse Electrics. Thank you for being part of the show. Richie and beautiful Hadley, thank you for being a part of the show tonight. We'll see you all next week or whenever we're back. Who knows? Who knows when it's going to be? Thanks, everyone, for tuning in.